Please give a warm, exciting welcome to guest moderator Josh Horowitz and filmmaker Keanu Reeves.
Hello. Thanks for coming out on a Sunday.
I can't think of a better way to spend a beautiful Sunday afternoon in New York City than coming indoors and talking about this kick-ass film, Keanu.
Well, that's very kind of you, Josh.
This is an awesome film. I've complimented you already, but you should hear it in public one more time. I've seen this film twice, and it's a great piece of work. And
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know, this is an impressive work, and that this is Keanu's directorial debut, which is an amazing achievement for any first-time
Thank you very
filmmaker.
much.
So I guess my first question is, do you feel, I mean, I would think as an actor for many years, you're always exposing yourself to an audience. You feel a little bit naked out there every time a film comes out and hoping for their approval. Does it feel a little bit more of your soul is out there on display when it's your directing effort? A little more nerve-wracking this time around?
It's different. I would say you certainly feel more responsible. You know, I'm not one of those actors who doesn't go see the finished film. I like to see what the director did with it, or what, you know, how was the story told. And in this time, it was my responsibility, and so I felt that. But you know, I like the film very much, which helps. And do I feel? Yeah, I would just say yes. You feel more responsible, and in terms of that. Yeah, you hope people enjoy it.
Were you, like if I'd spoken to you 10 years ago about possibly directing, would that have been on your mind? Was this something on the checklist of something to get to at some point? Maybe
8 years ago. 10, maybe not. But yeah, probably about 8 years ago I started thinking about that. And then it was just, for me, it became just like I'm looking for a story to tell. I would love to direct, but I needed a story to tell, and Man of Tai Chi became that story.
I mean, as you can tell from the trailer, or those of you that might have seen the film already, it's an incredibly ambitious film for any filmmaker, let alone someone that's, you know, the first time behind the camera. I mean, had you directed anything before? Had you done a short, a commercial, anything?
No. Maybe some dinner parties.
They were really well-orchestrated dinner parties.
They were just like, okay, let's put that over there. No, I hadn't.
And so? Were there? I mean, obviously, you've worked with some of the greatest filmmakers on the planet. You have to glean some wisdom working with them over the years. And I would assume, I don't know. I would assume that you maybe didn't have the natural jitters of a first-time filmmaker this first couple days on set, or were they nerve-wracking times?
You know, I never felt it in the context of that, in the sense of you've never done it, or I just felt like I had a story to tell. I was very familiar with a lot of the rooms, having produced, and so I'd been in the editing room, I'd been in pre-production, I'd been developing scripts for over 10 years. You know, so I was, you know, casting I've been a part of, but it was the first time that it was, you know, my responsibility. Certainly in the post was where I had probably the least experience, you know, in terms of being, you know, part of editing or post sound. I'd been involved in the color correction before. So for me, and obviously the shooting floor, I was very comfortable in. I felt at home. So I never really thought about, I never kind of went in and went like, on the first day of shooting, like, I've never done this. You know, I don't know, I felt like it was just like, okay, so like, what are we gonna do? Let's see, you know.
Totally.
And in prep and all of that, again, I'd had experience. And I was working with great collaborators. You know, I had a wonderful cinematographer, great producer, you know, and production design. And so the collaborative part of it, I really enjoyed, and I had a lot of support.
Well, let's talk about some of those collaborators, because first and foremost, obviously, your leading man in this one, Tiger Chen, is a friend of yours, someone that you guys may have heard of the Matrix films. I don't know if you've heard of that. He first met Tiger Chen on those films. Give me a sense of how that relationship went from friendship, working collaboration, to this project in particular.
I met Tiger Chen, in probably 1997. He was part of Yuan Wu-ping, who was the action director for the Matrix trilogy. And at the time, it wasn't. We didn't know it was a trilogy. But anyway, the Matrix film. The directors knew it was a trilogy, but we didn't. And anyway, we started. So he was responsible for training the actors in movie kung fu, which involves actually real training. So we were stretching for 2 hours. We were punching, kicking, and doing all of the wire work. And through the course of these years and this time spent together, you know, when you're stretching for 2 hours from across from someone who's like driving your legs open and pushing you down to the ground, you know, you kind of like, it's like, so where did you grow up? Oh, God, fuck. What? Chengdu? Yeah, what's it like in Chengdu? You know. And so we became friends. And so, you know, he's actually in, I think he's in Reloaded. But he'd started acting. You know, he was in Lawrence Fishburne's film. He was doing roles. We kept in contact, and around 2007, he sent me a script. And I was like, that's nice. And I'd like to work with you. You'd like to work with me. And I was like, well, let's try and find another story. And so then over the course of the years, we started to develop a story, which was, this is a long answer.
No, it's a perfect answer. You're doing great.
But
more grunting, please. More screaming and grunting.
Okay. Everyone wants the action. So do I. And so Tiger has he has a master. You know, that's one of the things I would ask him is like, tell me more stories about your master. He has a very traditional martial arts upbringing and training. And he's also a very modern guy. And so Man of Tai Chi is inspired by, for me, this part of him. You know, there's a lot about the film that's, you know, a modern, in the contemporary world, in modern China, Beijing, Hong Kong. How do we hold on or maintain our authentic self? How do we have, you know, tradition in the modern world? How do we not have the modern world consume us and everything? And so Tiger, to me, is like the source, the well.
You mentioned, it's funny because when I was watching it for the second time yesterday, there's some, I was talking to you backstage, there are 11 kind of set pieces, huge fights in the film, and some, all of them very striking, but one of the ones that affected me most is one of the master kind of apprentice sequences, and I, as a Star Wars fan, thought of like those lightsaber duels, which I think part of the reason those always resonated with me was the relationship at hand. And I'm curious in terms of like when you approach a fight scene, do you reference other films, whether it's, you know, great kung fu films or a Star Wars film, or do you kind of just go instinctual? Where do you start?
With all of that, I mean, you know, just I'm a fan of kung fu films. I'm not an aficionado, but I've seen a whole bunch of them. I love them, you know, since I was a kid, and you know, and also in terms of designing the fights. You know, I looked at a lot of kung fu films just for the editing style, where are they putting the camera, and because my hope was to take these sequences and not make them just action sequences, but to make them dramatic sequences, and that we're watching a character change. You know, Tigers gets involved in underground fighting, and he's interested in externalizing and in his power. And he gets a little intoxicated. So I wanted these fights to have an emotion, a visceral impact and connection, and hopefully make them immersive. And then with the shooting styles, they do have different feels to them, editing style, camera, etc.
And let me just thank you, because someone who's seen a lot of film for my job and for fun, to actually be able to understand the choreography and see what's happening in a fight scene. It's a pet peeve in recent years for me, and I'm sure for other people, that it's just too frenetic, right? Am I alone here?
No, but that has its place, you know? I mean,
Right.
if we think of the Bourne films, for me, is where a lot of that was really realized in a really well way.
Right.
Really good way. But yeah, I was trying to always, I mean, one of the things in the film is I'm trying to work with objective and subjective and voyeurism and breaking the wall, but I always wanted you to know where you were and what was going on. So, I mean, there's a little bit of shaky cam, but not really.
It's a classical film. This is like
it's a classic tradition, but very modern and hopefully postmodern.
It's everything in one.
Postmodern meta.
let's show. We've got a couple clips to show you guys. We're also going to take some of your questions in a bit. Here's a clip from Man of Tai Chi. Take a look. I was just imagining how that's going to sound to somebody just listening to the podcast.
I don't know. Hopefully, good.
It's awesome, and I should say also, I mean, see this if you can on the big screen, guys. As you can tell, it's beautifully made, and the bigger the screen, the better, right?
Thank you.
You know, when you first started doing fight training for The Matrix and kind of got into this world a little bit, did you like it? Did you get off on it in the way that maybe your lead character does?
Yeah. You mean, did I enjoy shooting the fight scenes?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I would imagine you kind of alluded to it. That's grueling. That's months and months and months of training that can.
Yeah, Tiger was astounding. You know, he had so much action and fighting to do. He's very brave. I love it. You know, I loved the storytelling. I loved the cinema of it. And, you know, it was like each fight, each sequence, Tiger would have, you know, would be there. He had maybe, like that fight was, Monk Fight's 5 days of filming. So it's, you know, 12 hours a day for 5 days. The other performer, Ocean Howe, lovely man. But guys would come in and they'd be like, oh, right, we're working, we're going to do Man of Tai Chi, and here we are. Tiger would be just like, but they'd all start, you know, and it was like, do you need a pad? No, it's okay, it's okay. And then by like the end of the first day, it was like, Tiger's just like here still. And the other guy's like, oh my God. And he's got like ice and things. And like, I mean, we broke people, but didn't break them. We just, there were a couple of hospitals. But there was such a passion and a joy in it. You know, we were working with Wu Ping. People really responded to the script, and you know, it's a film that hadn't really been done before. A kind of co-production, you know. So this kind of Hollywood style way of making film. You know, it's what is it? It's 60% in Mandarin Cantonese and then English. So it was a new world. We felt like we were, you know, doing something. I don't want to go that, I can't say that far, but we're doing something that hadn't been done quite like this before. And so there was a real passion to it. And people were willing to do another take and keep going.
We should mention, I mean, we got a glimpse of your character in this one. You've given yourself an awesome...
Donica Mark.
Donica is awesome. He's, within the first 2 minutes of the film, you break a guy's neck and stab someone to death.
Yeah, but I stab him like jail style. You know, like, cha, 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 cha. It's like not dead enough. Keep dying.
He's a great creation. Was it always the intent that you would act in this? And that must have been... Was it enjoyable? Because, I mean, you obviously had... very much a full-time job, but you couldn't devote the normal kind of singular process to it. Was that difficult to kind of juggle?
Those were like 4 questions, Josh.
Oh my God.
Which I don't mind.
Take the third question first.
Huh?
Take the third part first.
The third part.
Whichever one you want.
Okay, so that wasn't difficult being an actor and directing. It was more about you hadn't played a villain before. Did you enjoy Donica Mark? In the process, how did we end up becoming Donica Mark? You know, as we developed the script, it was myself, Michael Cooney, the writer, and Tiger Chen, and executive producer Daxing Zhang. And so we were developing the script and collaborating, and Donica's voice, you know, you owe me a life, you know, this idea of when Tiger would come to him with concerns, you know, Donica says, does it matter? And I just love that, does it matter? You know, like, what are you ultimately thinking, and he already knows. I mean, there's an idea about control in this, and then also subservience. And also the idea of free will, and also being seduced by your own passion.
Totally.
You know, Donica appropriates Tiger's passion for wanting to excel and to succeed and show Tai Chi to the world and the idea of power. And Donica just keeps going, yeah, keep going. Keep going. Yeah, you want that? Go have it. And I feel like that's kind of personal thought for me, that that's a dangerous seduction, and that we need, in the film Man of Tai Chi, we deal with this idea of power and control, but also meditation or thoughtfulness. This idea that we think about our choices and our circumstances, just starting with that.
Is there also a bit of commentary in there about surveillance and or reality television? Your lead character is watched. He is documented. He's kind of a reality star in a weird way.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Is that something you guys were talking about and something that you consciously wanted to kind
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of there's a lot of interfacing and interplay between how we live right now. So there's a lot of we're allowing our yes there's a lot of ways that we're sharing ourselves and being shared.
Totally.
And I thought that's part of it.
Let's take one look at another clip from this film, Man of Tai Chi.
So this is Tiger Chen, who's fighting in a fight that's now gone. He thinks he's just an underground fighting, but then he learns that people are watching it. And this is a fight that he discovers he's in front of his fans. He's so villainy.
You had a good time with that guy.
I love Donica. There's something so pure about playing a villain like that. It's the villains have such great passion. It's like and it's uncomplicated. It's like I want, I need, I must have. Whereas the protagonist is always like, I don't know. Maybe I'm searching. I need to figure it out. And the villains that's why the villains get those great lines. It's like, hey, dummy, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out.
And you can go big a couple times. There are some great moments that really catch the audience off guard in a great way. I alluded to this before. You've worked with some amazing filmmakers over your career, obviously, from Catherine Bigelow, Coppola, Gus Van Sant. You could go on and on. Wachowski's, obviously. Is one more of an influence than another, or is this? Would you say this film is just an amalgamation of sort of all the different experiences you've had? Did you learn most from one filmmaker in particular?
Absolutely. We're made up of our experiences. When I think the person that I really it's hard to there's so many people. But when I think about that question and I think about how I was, I think of Bernardo Bertolucci, because he is for me was such a great collaborator, and he would direct very practically, move this but then he would also say, well, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? He would also, in the process to a role, be philosophical, abstract, promote, push, ask, question, and so. But then on the day when you're working, he was so present, and would just direct, would react, and there was a compassion to him, and but he was very strong, but he would also listen, and he was also so in the moment, and so I hope that I feel like. I didn't, when I went into it, I didn't go like, okay, so with everyone that I've worked with, who will I impersonate? It was, you know what I mean? I was just who I am. And can I tell a quick Bernardo Bertolucci story?
I'm game.
I don't know how much time we have. I just love this about this man, okay? So I'm working on a film called Little Buddha. And I was playing Prince Siddhartha, which I remember one time I was in an airplane. I was flying to, at the time, Mumbai, and I was on the plane, and one of the stewards on the plane was just like, so what are you doing? I love you in Speed. I love you. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this film with Bernardo Bertolucci. And he's like, oh, wonderful. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm playing, it's called Little Buddha. And he's like, oh, so who are you playing? And I'm like, I'm playing Siddhartha. And he goes, you can't do that. And I was like, but I am. And I can. So I had met Bernardo Bertolucci when he had come to me with this idea. I was working on Much Ado About Nothing, and he came out, and I asked him, why would you like me to play this role? And he said, well, Keanu, you have impossible innocence. And for the Siddhartha and in the fable way that we're telling the story, I would like to use that. And I was like, impossible innocence. You're right. So then, so I got into it, right? So okay, so now I'm preparing, right? From there, I've been with the film crew. We've gone to Bhutan. I've been with them for like 3 weeks. And in the beginning, I had said to Bernardo, "Would you like me to have an accent?" No, I don't think so. Okay, fine. So I'm with the film crew. I'm under the thing, and we were in Bhutan for like 3 weeks. I'm talking to Rinpoches. I'm meditating. It's going crazy. I'm losing my mind and gaining all of what I'm doing. So we finally get to Mumbai. I'm going to start filming in like 3 days. And I go to visit Bernardo on the set. And he's looking at me. I go, Bernardo, how's it going? He goes, good, lovely. He looks at me, he goes, Keanu. I go, and he's on a ladder, right? So he's on a ladder and he's setting up a shot. And I'm like, and I'm in my stuff. I'm like eating like this now. And he's like, I think you should have an accent. Really, Bernardo? Yes. And I fell in love. I fell in love. I was like, of course you do. No problem.
Let's, on that note, I want 30 more minutes of anecdotes about Bernardo Bertolucci, but that's amazing. Let's take some questions for the impossibly innocent Keanu Reeves.
Hi, Keanu. For the Matrix trilogy and the Lake House, what were Laurence Fishburne and Sandra Bullock like from your point of view?
Sandra Bullock is a really lovely, amazing person. We've stayed in contact and remained friends. It's always lovely to see her. She's got great wit, humor, talent. Laurence Fishburne is a wonderful, beautiful force of nature. He's an incredible actor, wonderful man.
Hi, I saw the movie. I was just curious, why didn't the guy with the gray hair ever talk?
Thin Man? I liked the idea of him not talking. I liked the idea of, I wanted it to be a kind of paternal, like a silent paternal. And also, for me, Thin Man was the witness. He's like an ultimate witness. So in that sense, he participates, but he doesn't he changes some kinds of things. He's of service, but he's also like the witness, the escort. And I liked that that's his place. He's hiding in plain sight. He's part of a kind of agnostic point of view, but inside it, like when Donica goes to meditate and he's looking and he kind of leaves the room, he has a boundary to him. And I liked that in the end, the one thing he does as the protector is say, go. And I wanted the character as well to have a kind of mystery to him, and I thought that gave him a power, and also that relationship by its omission, by the way that they were relating to each other, was better than me talking and him talking, And it was fun.
Is there anything you can take from directing to transcend into your acting career?
I would say part of having gone through the process of making a film is you kind of, and it also connects to the producing part of it as well, is that hopefully with these experiences I can protect the actor better. Just so maybe behind the scenes I can help with the environment that the actor has to the movie will become, So I'll say that. Yeah. know that probably doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, I could help with like physical production. I could look at like how it's coming together, and I think maybe there's a different kind of sympathy or empathy I can have with the director. But in terms of the acting part of it, I don't know. I haven't acted yet since I've directed. I'm just going to do that soon, so we'll see.
It's more of a comment. I just wanted to say thank you for your beautiful name. I named my son after you. And that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I hope Keanu's doing okay. And I hope you're doing okay.
Hi, Keanu.
Hello.
I wanted to ask you, knowing how the last Matrix movie ended, would you be interested in, if there was to, any possibility of continuing the story? Would you be interested in either being in it or maybe directing?
I'd love to direct again. I'm looking for a story to tell. I can guarantee you it will not be Thomas Anderson Neo's life. And I don't know what the Wachowskis are gonna do. I really don't. I mean, I love everything that they do, and I hope to work with them, again in the future. But I haven't heard anything about like, and the saga continues. And for my role, I don't know. The guy kind of did a lot. I don't know what else he does. Like anything else that he comes back for, it's like kind of like a downer. Like, what does he do? I'm back. Great. What? You just sacrificed your life for all sentient beings. What are you gonna do now? I don't know. I thought I'd help organize a dinner party.
I'd watch it. I mean, different way to go.
Hi, Keanu. Hi. So when you were making this film, did you have to like learn some Chinese because you're saying that like 60% of it was like shot in Chinese? So did you pick up the language along the way? Because it's probably hard to direct if you don't really know what they're saying, right?
Yeah. Hopefully, luckily, I was part of developing the script and translating it. Yeah. I mean, certainly, I had translators, and working with Tiger was great because he was such a part of it. So when I would, and also with casting directors, translators, I'd know what the dialogue was in Mandarin or Cantonese. I had pinyin or, but there was still like and also, speaking with people, with the actors and actresses and crew, it was always an interpreter, and it just took a little bit more time, but you always wanted to still, collaborate and know what they're thinking and feeling. And then, with the actors and the acting, that was kind of universal in a way. Just did they look comfortable? Was that the right feeling? And all of those things. But language-wise, I didn't really find it. Just took more time. Oh, and in terms of learning Chinese, I learned a little bit. Like movie Chinese, Kai Shi and Ting and Zai Lai Ga and stuff like that.
Hi, Keanu. I have a lighthearted or deeper question, whichever one you want to answer. The Matrix movies really inspired a look, and I was wondering if you dressed different after them or not, or if that's kind of how you were before. I was wondering if Trinity's wearing real leather or fake leather, because the Matrix characters strike me as people who'd believe in animal rights. And the other question I wanted to ask is, I'm a law student. I'm trying to decide between public interest law and sort of firm law. I'm doing summers in each, and I'm wondering if there was a certain decision in your life that the red pill, blue pill sort of reminded you of.
They've all caught on to my 4 questions thing.
You've inspired them. Trinity's costumes, I don't remember them as being leathery. I remember them as being deliciously, whatever that is, that material that shines and is tight and black. Yummy. And What was the next one? Red and blue pill. You sound very, I mean, you've got like a strong scale of justice going on here. You got like a big, like that's a, good luck with that. Maybe you could be like an ombudsman or something like that, where you're like in it, but outside of it, but you're looking at it, you know. And good luck. Follow your heart. Your good heart.
Thanks for the advice. And my question is, going forward, is there any genres, any movie genres that you would like to touch, either directing or acting-wise, that you haven't done in the past?
I think all that's left for me is like a musical. Well, no, I kind of did a musical way back when. A Christmas special. But that, I don't know if that counts. And in a good way. And I'd love to do a musical. And then, I don't know, horror? I don't know. Nah, yeah, sure, I don't know. And in terms of genre to direct, I don't, you know, I'm looking for a story, so I don't want to put that on yet, you know. That was Blinders. Yeah. But musical, I'd like to do musical.
Hi, Keanu.
Hello.
My husband Abe over there used to be into martial arts competition when he was younger, and I'm a fan of martial arts as well. And so my question is, among the martial arts styles that you have studied, which one is your favorite and why?
Well, I haven't studied any martial arts styles. I know movie kung fu. Which is all style. No. Yeah, so I don't, you know, Tai Chi is Kung Fu, yeah. I mean, I remember one time I was asking Tiger while we were stretching. I was like, so Tiger, what is Kung Fu? And he was like, well, you can have Kung Fu about anything, and it's about application, about the time. You could have Kung Fu in the sense of making a chair or anything artisanal or anything that you do in your life, you can have a Kung Fu aspect to it. And I was like, okay, well, that's great, but what's Kung Fu? And he was like, well, Kung Fu is for killing people. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's for killing people. But then I was like, but that can't just be all of it is. And he goes, well, no, there's also health. You know, there's a lot of medicine. It's about, you know, the philosophy, understanding. And it just goes on to, it kind of becomes everything in a way. And it becomes about your, I can't even say it becomes, I can't make statements. So where does that leave us? I'll go to Tai Chi. So in the film, many times people think about Tai Chi as just being, you know, slow and in the park and for old people. And that's true. That's part of it, but it's not as well. You know, as you know, in practicing Tai Chi, there's many schools of Tai Chi. They also have, you know, hard styles in them, and there is a martial application. Tai Chi Chuan is, you know, the martial aspect of that. And then in the film Man of Tai Chi, we also deal with the idea that Tai Chi absorbs. So Tiger absorbs other people's styles, you know, in terms of energy and what else. And you also get into the Tao with Tai Chi and with martial arts. And anything else you think? What else should I talk about there? Okay. Thanks.
We never even mentioned that we get to see, you know, you get your money's worth. Keanu kicks some ass and gets his ass kicked a little bit towards the end of the film.
I do indeed. There is a super fight.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. We filmed that for about 8 days. It was like 8 days, 10 days. But yeah. It was fun.
Does it feel like, are you still the peak conditioning for Kung Fu? Did it take a little more out of you than back in the Matrix days?
Well, you know, I wasn't able to train the same way. So after all of the reactions and stuff, my neck went into spasm. So that was fun. Is that too much information?
Well, on that note.
No, but other than that, it was just awesome. It was fun to fight. It was fun to fight with Tiger. You know, I mean, it was really exciting to be a part of this young artist's chance to shine, you know, and it was part of the reason why Yuan Wu Ping said yes to working with me in the film, was that he had worked with Tiger for, you know, 10 years. And so Tiger is like, an expert. He's a stuntman, actor, performer, and to be a part of that journey for this artist who sacrificed and dedicated so much of himself, and the gift of him doing that with me to tell this story that hopefully you will enjoy.
Congratulations, Keanu. And thanks, guys, for your questions so much. Man of Tai Chi. See it in theaters if you can, November 1st. It's also available on demand. Thanks, guys, for coming out.
IMAX.
IMAX, big screens.
24th. Thank you very much.